we need a place on the truck to attach water bottles. I'm like, what are you talking about? Like the water bottle goes in the coffee cup holder. He goes, no, like water bottles. I'm like, what are you talking about water bottles? He goes, like the big 40-gallon water bottles or water. I'm like on the side of football fields. He's like, yeah. I'm like, there's 2 guys in the truck. He goes, I know, that's how much water they drink. I'm like, what are you talking about? He goes, you've never been to Arizona, have you? We've got a great episode for you today. We have Luke Martin, who is the COO for A1 Garage, with us on the podcast. They've gone through a big funding raise. They're operating now in 19 states, I think over 40 markets, expanding into a few others. Talks a lot about their leadership team growth, the growth of people, some of their recruiting philosophies to be able to manage this growth, how they built out some of their internal team, some of their focuses around processes, but a great episode, some great advice, and somebody who's been in the industry for 20 years and how they're massively changing the industry as a whole. You'll love this one. We'll see you on the inside. So Luke, welcome to the Second in Command podcast.
Thanks for having me. I appreciate it, Cameron.
Yeah, really looking forward to this. I got to see your CEO, Tommy, speak at a Genius Network annual event about a month ago, and I've been going to those events for 9 years, was blown away with his story. And then I was actually, I think even maybe on his podcast about 5 years ago, I think I was interviewed by him. So I've been kind of following your story for years, but I've always wanted the rest of the story. So can you why don't you start off by telling us what A1 Garage is and what you're building as a brand, and then we'll dive in from there.
So A1 Garage, the largest wholly owned residential garage door service provider. So we operate currently in 19 states, nearly 40 markets across those 19 states. From my perspective, changing an industry, I've been in the garage industry quite a while, nearly 20 years now, and there isn't anybody doing what we're doing in the space. So it's been a great opportunity to reach a customer at a different level, create an experience for a customer that's, above and beyond what you get from the normal mom and pop shops that are really kind of the majority of what's in the space today. But the focus is direct to consumer. So we're direct to homeowners. We're not in the new construction space. We're not in the commercial space. We have a focal point. We really focus in on that and try to do it to the best of our ability.
You said you're very different from the rest of the industry. How are you different, or what is the rest of the industry and what are you? Because what is the differentiation there?
Technology is at the forefront of what we do. And, coming from previously owning my own, small garage door company where, it was pen and paper invoices, it was just fix the problem that presents itself. There's really no process, right? There's no sales process. There's no operational processes. It was just a very simple model. And that's really the majority of what you see out there in the garage door space. We have processes for everything, right? But I think most importantly, we have a sales process or a customer service process that we teach and train on. We have a complete training center, a training program that operates almost identical to a trade school. I can tell you when I got trained in the industry, it was 3 weeks of like, hey, ride along with this guy. Hope you learn everything you need to learn. And then here's a truck, some tools and a keys. Good luck.
Good luck.
And then it was like Nextel walkie-talkies. Like, I have no idea what I'm looking at. I didn't see this before, and trying to figure it out on the fly. So we want to set up our technicians for success, and we want our customers to have the most pain-free experience as possible, and just want to call us back if they ever have that issue again. So it's something that we preach. It's something that we care about. It's something that we've built our entire organization around.
You talked about no new construction and not putting your why is that?
We'll do like custom home builders. What we don't get involved in is the track homes, okay. Right? And the majority of the reason why is because that space can fluctuate dramatically depending on what the economy is doing. I mean, you can have huge upswings, you can have huge downswings. Take the COVID years, for example, right? Supply chain got really tight. We couldn't get doors. I mean, it could take 3 to 6 months to get doors at a period of time. And at that point, those track home builders would have paid anything for a garage door, right? They would have paid double, triple the price. As long as you can deliver a door on time when you say, we'll pay it. The other aspect of it is strictly margin based. They don't fall within the margins that we want to make, right? They very much dictate the margin. Here's what we're willing to pay. If you don't want to do it, we'll find somebody that will. It's very much a quantity over quality. And, we really like to focus on the quality, doing things right, making sure you have a system that's going to last you a long, long time, not doing the cheapest thing at the cheapest price. So that's just kind of our mentality. So it doesn't really fit into our wheelhouse.
Years ago, I was part of the senior leadership team building a house painting company. We ended up building the largest residential house painting company in the world. It was called College Pro Painters, and we would paint $64 million in houses in 4 months every summer with university students. What I loved about, well, I hated about the business was it was 8,000 students every summer painting houses. So it was really hard. And then they'd quit and go back to school and we'd have to hire them again. Like hiring 8,000 people a year just sucked. What I loved about the business was the long-term recurring revenue model where every 5 or 6 years, the same customers came back and painted their house again. You're operating largely in an expiring marketplace where every time you do great work for a customer, you don't get that customer again. I guess if they move, you get them, but how do you operate a business knowing that the better you are, the more you're chewing through your market, or do you have other products and services you're selling into that install base? How does that work?
And that's something when I came on board at A1 that I asked, because, we're selling parts that last 10 times as long, as any other company out there. And it's like, okay, when is that customer ever going to come back? Fact of the matter is, there's the repair side of it. We can service, we can repair your door, but then there's going to be a replacement side. So at a certain point, we can fix every part on your door, but the door itself will need to be replaced, we really look at kind of the lifetime value of a customer. So if we go in and we do $1,000 repair, right? We fix your springs, your bearings, your rollers, all those critical parts of the door. There's going to be a period of time down the road where even though those parts are still good, the door itself is going to start break down, right? The structural integrity, it'll crack, it'll break. Because kind of going back to that new construction, they're putting in the cheapest product possible. So we can come in and upgrade those parts, but then the door itself will have to be replaced. So that's one aspect of it. We're probably one of the only garage door companies that sells a membership, right? Very big in the HVAC space. They pay a monthly fee. You come out once a year, you do that tune up and service to the door, inspection on it. We've been doing it since I started, but we've been doing it very successfully for probably the past 24 months. We have nearly 40,000 members now. So there's a recurring revenue aspect to it.
Incredible.
And then it's, each year, the first year, you're not doing much, right? The second year, you're not doing much. But when you start to get into the 5th, 6th year of a member, start to get those new opportunities of either further repairs, more in-depth repairs, or really start looking at that replacement. And now we've really built a fence around that customer, right? If somebody's paying us $12, $13 a month for 3 years, they're not going to be shopping, right? We are their garage door company. We're going to come in, make those suggestions, and they're a better customer, a better quality customer. Outside of that, we are looking at other verticals. So storage solutions is something that we actually launched late last year. Floor coatings is one. So we're always looking at new things that we can do. If you ask Tommy, he wants to get into solar and garage insulation and, everything else. And there will be things that we'll continue to add on in a strategic way. We just want to make sure we're not going into a customer's house and to repair the garage door and all of a sudden asking if they want us to remodel their pool, right? So trying to figure out what makes sense and what makes sense as an add-on kind of revenue stream.
That's good, because I did actually thought that you were doing more than just the doors. So you are actually doing with the storage and the flooring, and that makes sense. There is a lot of if you get in with fix their door, you have a huge upside to sell them the rest of the services. I love the whole membership model with 40,000 customers. That's extraordinary. I remember the guy who wrote the book Guerrilla Marketing, J. Conrad Levinson. When he died, he had 360,000 people paying him $2 a month to be on his fax list to fax him leadership marketing tips. I'm like, he was making $700,000 a month 20 years ago just to send people a fax. I'm like,
that's crazy.
But yeah, for the first month or two, he'd get 10 people at $2 a month, and he had 20 people at $2 a month. Yeah. But over time, that model worked. That's a great flywheel that you're focusing on. So you touched on something that I hinged on pretty early, and it was that you're kind of a trade school for your labor. Is that, or maybe that was what I extrapolated from it, but is that one of the ways that you're able to find good labor, is you find good people and you train them to do the work versus finding people that have been doing it forever?
Yeah. And, I can tell you from firsthand experience, when I had my company, the hardest part was finding people. And, I was a small company. We were doing a couple $1 million a year, but it was always like, I need somebody that already knows what they're doing, and I just need to plug them in. I don't have time to spend 2 months, 3 months training a person in the field. I just need somebody to run jobs now. Yeah. And I think that mindset is just completely backwards. We look at it as an investment, right? So we have marketing dollars that we put into recruiting, right? We're constantly bringing people in the door. We have a training class every month. We fly them here to Phoenix to our training center. They spend 4 weeks with us. That's after spending 4 weeks in their market, doing it at what we call an apprenticeship. right? So there's training modules, we have a learning management system, they have to pass a test. I would rather take somebody that's willing, able, eager, hungry, humble, has zero garage door experience, but wants a career, wants a path to make $100,000, $200,000 a year, and train them, than take somebody that's been in the garage door space for 5 years, has a lot of bad habits. We got to break down those habits. Now, we've had a lot of success with experienced guys, but for the most part, our top guys are homegrown, right? We create them. So that's something that we took very seriously. We started with a very small training center, a very unregimented training program, and it's developed into this. We could probably charge $20,000 to train garage door technicians in a 4-week course, right? Much like an HVAC school or plumbing
Totally.
school or electrical or something like that. So, but we're paying people to come and do that. So that is probably one of the biggest benefits and advantages that we have over smaller garage door companies, is that they don't have that ability to do that.
Absolutely. And that spins off into massive customer engagement, I would guess, as well. With what you're doing with the training of these people, do you start to have an eye on who the emerging leaders are from that group? And do you look for them to become, I don't know the titles that you would have, but like general managers, area managers, regional managers? Like, do you promote from within? Are you at that stage now in the organization where you're looking for those key people that, are out in the field, but that they can move up in the organization?
Absolutely. Yeah. I mean, we create career paths across the organization from, our call center or call experience agents, right? They have a career path they can follow into, whether it's, a level 2 agent or a supervisor or management, but same with technicians in the field. And it's something that we've invested in, especially in the last 24 months, is building the future leaders of the company. So that's leadership training, right? Traditionally, it's been hard to take blue collar guys in the field, pull them out of the field and turn them into leaders. But we're investing early and often into these guys, especially the ones that we see potential in, and we're giving them those leadership skills early. So we have a career path for a technician. They come out of training, they start as a junior technician, with a certain level of performance, they graduate to a general technician and then a senior technician. And we have what are called field supervisors, right? So they manage a small team of technicians. And we have service managers, we have sales managers, we have area managers, general managers. There's several layers working their way up. Great example is we just promoted one of our sales managers to our director of sales. We had 35 fantastic candidates, internal, external, and it came down to 2, and one was internal, one was external. And it was really the deciding factor for me was I would rather promote from within, all things being equal. Yeah. And they were pretty close to equal. That message throughout the company goes a long, long way to say, hey, we want our people to grow with us rather than pulling all these people from outside whenever it's possible.
Yeah, I remember the founder of College Pro Painters said, better a devil you know than a devil you don't. And we always look to promote from within, where we would try to get our best painters to become the franchisees, and then the best franchisees would become the best general managers. Huge opportunities when you can do that.
Yeah.
You mentioned in the early part that you're operating right now in 19 states and 40 markets. How do you select those states? Because I know you guys started in Arizona. How do you decide to expand and where to expand? And then at the same time, how do you decide where not to go?
Early on, it was very unsophisticated, not a lot of strategy. And this was prior to I was here, but started in Phoenix, went to Tucson, which makes sense, right? Northern Arizona, Flagstaff, Prescott, those regions. And then we jumped across the country to Milwaukee, which is like, why would you go to Milwaukee, right? Like, it's so far away. You can't share labor. Like, what's going on there? And early on, it was about a person, right? We have this great person that we think can run a market. Let's go there. Now we're much more strategic about how we think about it. Obviously, we pull in all the economy metrics of a market, population, housing growth, how many new home starts. New home starts equal future work for us down the road in the next 3 to 5 years, depending on the builder. So we look at all of those things. We look at house value, median income from the house. Really, Phoenix has been kind of our baseline. So wherever we can, we try to mirror the things we see in Phoenix, because Phoenix is, our best market by far, obviously our most seasoned market. But you jump to like Vegas, right? Very successful market for us. Denver, Colorado, very successful market for us. So, and as we've evolved and we've been in some East Coast markets, some West Coast, some Midwest. We've experienced things, and we see, East Coast markets, they do good for us, but our average ticket, our conversion rate, it's harder to get in the East Coast for some reason. When you look at, Charlotte, for example, Columbus, Florida, for some reason we struggle a little bit more there. Midwest, similar, right? Your home values are a lot less. So, we're really looking at those major metropolitan areas where people care about their home. You have some affluent areas that you can target. And that's really what's been successful for us in the recent history.
That makes sense. I remember when we were trying to scale 1-800-GOT-JUNK, we decided to be in the top 30 metropolitan areas. We went after all the NFL cities, all the Major League Baseball cities. We were like, if they can support NFL and MLB teams, they got to be able to support our services too. But yeah, but it is amazing how different some of the markets are. So operating in a Phoenix, you've got 12 months of the year, the weather is warm. I mean, even when it's shitty, it's still warm and dry. Operating in a Boston in, minus 10 degrees when it's winter and it's cold and it just kind of sucks, and homes are smaller. Do you look at that, or do you just say, or is there a blend? Because I'm curious if you look at the weather in markets even.
We do. And, we are in some, Detroit, right? Milwaukee, where you get those cold months and you get a little bit of seasonality there, right? Right now in some of those markets, we're going to be a little bit slower, come March, they'll start to really pick back up. But Phoenix is the ideal market. You get a little bit of the snowbird effect, right? Summertime, all the snowbirds leave, but it's not nearly as drastic as what the weather does. Now, there are some positives to weather in our industry. When you get drastic weather changes, when it turns from that kind of fall weather to that deep winter weather, things start to break on your garage door. So springs start to snap, things like that happen. So there are some advantages to that. So we won't let it dictate whether we're going to go to a market or not, but it's something we definitely think about from a seasonality standpoint. Now we're fortunate, you look at like the HVAC space, they make all their money 4 to 6 months out of the year. Then they're just fighting for work the rest of the year, trying to find things to keep guys employed. Luckily, we don't have that type of seasonality. We're consistent enough that we can keep all of our staff all year long and keep them busy for the most part, especially when you get up into the New England area. I was actually born in Massachusetts. It's different. The houses are different. They were built so long ago, most of them, that just the way a door gets installed is it's different, right? It's more time consuming. You're spending more time on jobs. They're more unique from house to house rather than getting that cookie cutter. Hey, everything's kind of the same. I remember early on in my garage door career, I was probably 6 months in, and my oldest sister still lives in near Boston. And she's like, hey, my husband bought a door. We'll fly you out here if you install it for us. And I was like, yeah. At this point, I didn't know enough about doors to know that this was a bad idea. And so we flew out there. Of course, it's wintertime, it's snowing. And I was like, should I bring my tools? And she's like, no, my husband's got every tool you need, right? Don't worry about it. So I fly out there and I'm like, wow, he doesn't have every tool I need. So that's unfortunate. And they have this whole different spring setup that I had never seen before.
Sure.
And it took me 2 days to install the door. With snow falling on the ground, I was like, I will never do this again.
Life. Yeah.
Yeah, this is miserable. I'm used to like warm weather. It doesn't get that cold. Normally it takes like an hour and a half, 2 hours to install a door. And here I am 2 days later. And
I get
so
it.
That was a learning experience. So New England, we will possibly touch one day, but it's not real high on the priority list.
Also, I've got the opposite story. When we were building 1-800-GOT-JUNK and we were just expanding into Arizona, and our guy from Vancouver went down to Arizona and he came back. He's like, we need a place on the truck to attach water bottles. I'm like, what are you talking about? Like the water bottle goes in the coffee cup holder. He goes, no, like water bottles. I'm like, what are you talking about water bottles? He goes, like the big 40-gallon water bottles or water. I'm like on the side of football fields. He's like, yeah. I'm like, there's 2 guys in the truck. He goes, I know, that's how much water they drink. I'm like, what are you talking about? He goes, you've never been to Arizona, have you? He was in Arizona in July in 115 degree heat. And he's like, dude, they're drinking like 40 gallons of water between 2 guys. I'm like, yeah. we didn't think about that one.
Yeah. No, they suck that water down out here. So it's critical because you get that heat exhaustion. It can be rough.
Where are you going next? 19 states already. Where are the next big markets you're going to go expand to?
So we have 3 targets that we're very high on. Chicago, Atlanta, and Dallas are the next 3 on the list. No particular order at this point, but those will be the next cities we want to get into either through acquisition or greenfield.
I'll tell you, Dallas and Atlanta were, well, all three were massive for us at 1-800-GOT-JUNK. Dallas and Atlanta were my preferences for ease of getting in, for ease of traffic, for the bigger homes. Chicago tended to be very kind of idiosyncratic, and there's a lot of labor union stuff up. Do you guys is the labor unions come into your industry at all, or are you able to
No,
secure?
luckily we don't have to deal with that. And yeah, Chicago's very pockety. I mean, there's
Right,
areas where it's like, yeah, you want to be here, and then it's like, don't go south of here
right.
because that's gonna be dangerous. You don't get that as much in like the Atlanta, Dallas market. So, we see Chicago as an extremely fragmented market. There's no sophisticated players in that market at all. Dallas, you have a couple, 10, $15 million companies that are doing some good things, right? Tommy's created a network, right, where garage door companies can come and learn from us. And there's a lot of companies taking advantage of that, but we're not seeing a lot of that in Chicago. So we think we could come in and either consolidate some of the smaller companies or at least bring a sophisticated operation to the market. But I would tend to side with you. I'm more excited about Atlanta and or Dallas than I am Chicago.
Dallas, I think it's like from my perspective, seems to be very similar to Vegas and Arizona as well. So thinking about the expansion for you, I know that a lot of your operation, well, all of your operations are corporately run. Do you worry about competition? You just mentioned them kind of like, oh, gee, shucks. You don't, it doesn't sound like you guys even focus on the competition or think about them.
We really don't. When I started my company, it was like call around the top 10 companies in the market. What are they charging? And I want to be like right in the middle, right? We are not the price leader, right? We're not the cheapest company. We focus on providing more, right? We focus on providing a service that you're not going to get from any of these other customers. Our technicians are provided with the best tools in the industry that we pay for. They have brand new vans. They're fully wrapped. They're uniformed. They're highly trained where, from a lot of other garage door companies, you're going to get somebody much like I was when I first started, right? Like 3 weeks in a beat up old truck. I had to buy my own tools. So it was like kind of the cheapest of the cheap. And I was like, I don't really need that one yet. So I might not have every tool I need. Paper invoices, there's no set pricing or price book. They could kind of fluctuate pricing as they want. So, and then we have a process, right? Like we teach our technicians from the very first call. Cameron, you are the customer. I'm going to call you and say, hey, Cameron, this is Luke with A1 Garage Doors. Super excited to help you out with the smile of your home today. Tell you what, I'm stopping at a Starbucks on the way over. What's your favorite coffee? I'm going to grab one for you, right? Just that first experience with us is going to be next level, and you're not going to get that from any other garage door company and probably not many other home service companies.
1-800-GOT-JUNK. You'll definitely get it with 1-800-GOT-JUNK.
There you go.
Yep.
And and we reimburse the technicians for the coffee or whatever if the customer wants it, but it's just setting that precedent for the customer that we're here to help you. We're friendly, we're outgoing. We want to build a relationship with you. It's not just transactional, right?
Great.
It's an experience.
2003, one of our drivers in Atlanta, Georgia, called a customer, said, hey, we're going to be at your home in 15 minutes, just like we promised we would be. We're stopping at a Starbucks. This wasn't scripted.
Okay.
Stopping at a Starbucks. Can we pick you up a latte? The woman goes, it was like, we'll be there at like 11 o'clock in the morning. She goes, no, but I sure could use a Long Island iced tea. It's been a rough morning. He goes, we'll see you in 15 minutes, ma'am. He gets off the phone. He goes, go to Phil's bar. He goes, why? We don't have time. He goes, go to Phil's bar. They pull into Phil's bar with a brand new empty Starbucks cup. They got a Long Island iced tea poured into it. They showed up at her door.
Oh, that's great.
They blew her mind. I'm sure I haven't stopped telling the story, but like, I've never heard of any company that's actually done it perfectly like you guys are doing it and keep doing it.
No, it's been, the one that sticks out to me is we had a technician in Detroit, and apparently this is like big in Detroit, but they have these like cider mills, and he's like, I'm stopping by the old cider mill. Can I get you anything? She's like, yeah, can you pick me up a couple dozen donuts and a gallon of cider? And it was like, well, okay, well, wasn't expecting that, but so he picks it up, and it's like, you do that for a customer, and whether it's a coffee or a water bottle or whatever,
Game
it's
over.
like, yeah, it's there's that law of reciprocity. It's like I did something for you, now it's your turn to do something for me, and that's, hey, hear me out on your garage door, listen to me, and let's take it seriously and fix your door right.
Yeah.
So it's those little things that I think make a huge difference along the way.
How do you hire for the tradesmen or the garage door people, and how do you hire the ones who get it? Because you can't really train that. You can't train them all to be that way. That's kind of like that's just the way they're wired, right? How do you look for that? And do you look for that?
If I had to pick, 2 or 3 traits, I want somebody that's humble, hungry, and that they're people smart, right? You don't have to be intellectually a genius, but you have to understand how to talk to people. And you're right, that's hard to teach. I could teach anybody how to fix a garage door. That part's easy. But really teaching somebody how to build a conversation, how to hold a conversation, how to get people to like them in a short period of time, that's much harder. I can tell you we've worked very hard on not only our recruiting process, but our interview process over the past several years to try to identify that. You don't always get it right, but we've gotten a lot better at getting the right talent in the front door. But it's, young, willing, able guys that they want something different, competitive. We want competitive people. So, hey, did you play sports in high school is always one of the questions we ask in the interview, or college, right? How do you feel about competition? How do you feel about operating in a competitive environment? Those are some things that are important to us. And then, does the interview become conversational, right? Or is it strictly, I ask a question, you give an answer? Are they elaborating? Are they building a conversation? Are they asking questions back? So those are all things that we look for specifically in a technician. We always say, so we have technicians, then we have installers, right? So the installers go install the new door after it's sold. They're completely different people. Installer doesn't really want to talk to anybody. They're like, I want to know what my work is for the day, what I'm going to get paid, and I just want to go do it and go home. Where service tech is, I love talking to people, I love meeting people, I love the opportunity to create my own income with upsells, and it's just completely different people. And we've really done a great job of targeting, kind of those different personality types and putting them in the right role.
Now, you guys have gone through some really rapid growth. I mean, lots of companies say they're growing quickly, but I think you guys are classified in the hyper-growth category where you're growing at 100% growth a year approximately. What's it like in that kind of hyper-growth phase? What are some of the lessons you can impart, and how do you hire the right executive leadership team people? Because you can't always promote those from within. At some point, you need to bring in the outside ones.
A couple years ago, I can tell you, our finance department was really struggling. Getting the right CFO in place was something that we missed several times. It was, let's see, 2022, February of 2022-ish, Tommy decided, hey, look, I want to go to market, look for an investor, a PE firm or something. We need to get the right team in place. And we really didn't have that team from a finance standpoint. We were operating at roughly $100 million or so a year, and we had 3 people on our accounting team, right? It was just kind of a mess. So we went through the recruiting process. We found Adrian, our current CFO, and he was a literal game changer for us. Just the level of reporting and insights, and a guy that literally knows nothing about home service that came into our business and just through numbers told us so much, right? That we just had no idea. Building that right team at the top is critical. And mixing some outside people with some inside people, I think was a benefit we had. I understood the business as it sat that day. I understood the industry because I've been in it for so long. I understood our operations. I'm very passionate about sales, but we were missing a true, CFO. We were missing, a true, vice president of marketing, and some of those roles that are just critical to kind of continue that growth trajectory. So that's been big. The other things we've done is always treated recruiting as a marketing, right? We are always marketing for new people, whether it's Facebook, Instagram, Indeed, whatever. We are always posting ads. I might not need a technician in Phoenix, but I will always hire a great technician and always look to top grade and just continue to get better talent inside. And then lastly, I would say, investing in our people. We actually changed our mission and vision a while back and really got away from providing the best garage door service in the industry. It's every garage door company wants to do that, right? And it's more focused around building a company where our employees can dream big and we can help them achieve those dreams.
Love it.
Right. That is what Tommy gets passionate about. That's what I've learned to really get passionate about. When we have an employee come in, they're like, dude, I just bought a new house. We praise that, right? We talk about it in meetings when our teams have successes or individuals have successes outside of work. We talk about those things all the time. And I think building that culture is extremely important because it can get lost when you're growing that fast. It's easy to just kind of it's all about the numbers. It's all about the numbers. So holding on to that has been something that we've focused on.
You've talked a couple times around investing in your people, and I love it because I launched a leadership course about 2 years ago called Invest in Your Leaders. And that was the whole purpose was I want companies to invest in their emerging leaders, to invest in their managers' skills. And if we don't grow their skill set at the management leadership team level around coaching and delegation and time management, managing conflict and one-on-one coaching meetings and interviewing. Like, if we don't give them the skills to be a leader, they're not going to be able to scale the company as the company doubles. So I love that you're doing it, but I also really love that you're actually focused on employee happiness and employee engagement more than the customer, because you recognize that if your employees are super happy, they're going to go through brick walls for your customer. Tommy is a voracious learner. More than most entrepreneurs I've ever met or bumped into, he literally devours everything he can from a learning component. Are you similar, and is your leadership team similar? And do you look for people that are doing that, or is it more of a trickle down?
When I started A1, I was not like that.
Sure.
I was not a reader. Even owning my own business at the time, I learned a lot when I did my own business. I learned how to build websites. I learned how to market. I'd watch YouTube videos and like I would educate myself, but nothing like what Tommy does. When I started at A1, as I started to have success, Tommy would drop books on my desk, and I'm like, oh, but I read them.
What were some of them?
I got a whole bookshelf back here of books, and they've changed over the years. They started with a lot of sales books, the Sales Boss, there's a whole variety of them, but they've really turned into more leadership books now. Really like Simon Sinek, The Ideal Team Player, The Coaching Effect. Those are some of my top favorites. The 5 Dysfunctions of a Team, just some of the basics, right? Yeah, so those are all great books. In the past, started book clubs. Tommy will come across a book that he's very passionate about. He'll buy it for the whole leadership team. We'll read it together. We'll discuss it together. We'll talk about it together. So I would say as the time has gone on, we've all become like that. I have about a 45-minute commute to work every morning. It was actually New Year's Eve last year that I just decided, like, I don't need to listen to the radio. I don't need to listen to sports radio. So I listen to Audible or a podcast every morning to and from work. Listen to Alex Hormozy right now. So just something, whether it's sales or leadership or business related, just kind of trying to model what Tommy does. I can't digest it as fast as he does, but he has trickled that down. And I think all of us are we actually have adopted it, everybody from our VP level up, especially, it's something we talk about. What book are you reading right now? What book are you reading? What's your favorite book recently? So, those are things that are important that I could tell you 5-6 years ago, I would never have done that.
Yeah.
So, but I think it's critical to our continued success.
I think the trickle down of that from leadership is critical. I just launched a book club off my website. It's free, but like it's all of my favorite business and leadership books. And I love that you mentioned Simon Sinek. Simon has slept on my couch before. He was on our.
Oh, really?
Simon was on our board of advisors in 2004 for 18 months when we were building 1-800-GOT-JUNK. He read about Brian and I in Fortune magazine, flew out to Vancouver to meet us, and it was 5 years before he wrote the book Start With Why. And
oh, wow.
Yeah, we had some really incredible early stage connection with him. And it's been incredible to watch this guy. At the time, he was running like a 6-person marketing agency in New York. And we just had this unbelievable time to be infused with his DNA from brand and leadership. And so he's really, really been extraordinary in his career. And I love that you also mentioned 5 Dysfunctions of a Team. It's a fantastic book. And I think it is, even though it's 20 years old, I think it's required reading for every leadership team member in every company today. I want you to go backwards for us. Go back to the 21-year-old Luke Martin. Give yourself some advice. What advice would you give the 21-year-old Luke?
Oh, man. See, 21, I was just getting started in garage doors. I was going to college for communications. I grew up in a household, but we weren't super wealthy. We weren't poor. We're very middle class. And it was always get a good education, go to school, which I think is important. I graduated ASU with a bachelor's in communication, fairly useless degree. I learned more in the past 5 years being at A1 than I ever learned in college, right? Just about business, how to grow a business, how to generate, revenue and make it profitable. If I had to go back when I was 21 years old, there would be the classic, hey, you don't need to party that much, right? You could probably focus a little bit more. But I would probably focus myself on learning earlier in life, but learning the stuff that matters, not just going to college and learning kind of like whatever the classes they throw at you.
Yeah.
It's like, hey, focus on what it means to be a leader. What do you need to grow a business? What are the important factors of it?
Sure.
And I tell my kids to this all the time because, actually we just had this conversation over the holiday break with my daughter. She's 13. And she's like, I want to be a criminal psychologist. I was like, that's great. She's like, they make a lot of money, right? I was like, no. I was like, so you have to decide what you want. You want to do a passion, you want to go make $50,000, $80,000 a year doing something you love doing. That's fantastic. And I will support you all day. But if you want to make a lot of money, you need to think business minded, think about being an entrepreneur, think about working closely with an entrepreneur and building a leadership, strategy. So it's an interesting conversation, right? Obviously at 13, what's a lot of money is, can kind of vary, but those are the kind of conversations I have with my kids now is you can find a way to do both, right? Like I found, later in life, I'm passionate about the garage door industry. I wake up every morning and I don't feel like I have to go to work. I wake up and I'm like, man, I get to go to work. What do we get to accomplish today? But I could tell you early on, I didn't like waking up at 5 a.m. and going and fixing garage doors in 110-degree heat, right? Like it wasn't always that passion. So it's try to find what you love doing and can you make a great living out of it, but try to decide what's most important to you. Is it, hey, I want to make a bunch of money because I feel like that can provide a lifestyle that's important to me? Or is it, look, I just love this. I don't care as much about the money and love with this particular, industry or field. I guess that's probably what I would try to tell myself back then.
I love it a lot. Luke Martin, the COO for A1 Garage. Thanks very much for sharing with us on the Second in Command podcast.
October 2022, I got in. I knew some things. I didn't know some others. For the ones that I don't know, that was easy. You go, you read, you learn. The problem is you don't know what you don't know. It's hard to figure it out yourself. Am I doing everything right? And are there other things that I need to do? It wasn't that clear. With